My number 10 is Phenomena. Number 9 is Inferno.
Awesome
And
movie.
the reason
That's
why
not
it's so low on the list, it's not on yours, or it is on yours?
Oh, it's on mine.
Oh, so I thought it would be. The reason it's not higher is you're going to laugh at this, really. There's just too much cat trauma in the film.
Too much cat trauma. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. It's a valid excuse.
No,
It's like
yeah.
with people with Cannibal Holocaust and stuff that can't watch it because of the animal kills and stuff.
I'm
like
not
that.
even a cat lover. Like I like cats. I'm allergic to cats. It's I guess it's the kind of helplessness and the putting it in the bag and all that kind of stuff and the noises and everything.
It is a wild scene, and then yeah,
I do like the neon of it. I like the 80s feel. I like the house. There's loads of it that I like. Do you know the house being the focus, or the in these different parts of the trilogy? It reminds me a bit of, this is going to sound really crazy, but it reminds me a bit of like Doctor Strange, and now he's got that little
I guess
building that's
they
focus.
just and he does do that. He focuses right in on, like, it's the apartment in Inferno in New York, I think. Yeah, in New York. And we have in Suspiria, obviously it's the academy. I like how they do that, how he utilizes that. And Argento has like one uncanny ability for like picking set pieces or places to film, because every set that he has, like early, even in Bird with the crystal plumage, you see it, like the repeating trippy wallpaper or carpet patterns and stuff like that. And some of it is a product of its time, like when it was made, more that was in more at the time and stuff, but you don't see it as often. And like he utilizes all of that just perfectly, like in all his movies, like patterns, like especially wallpaper patterns, carpet patterns. Like some of my favorite shots in movies are in films of his, and are just like symmetrical shots that involve patterns and stuff, and one or two of those will come up later.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think that the thought that goes into that allows, like, it doesn't need to be $1 billion, set building operation. It's just how it's filmed, having that eye. He's got like a cinematographer's eye, really.
Yeah, basically. Like he's just brilliant with every, like, it's like he must just have like the greatest luck in the world with finding either like making either the set pieces or just like the filming locations throughout his career that he gets lucky enough to stumble upon or able to shoot in and stuff. And like it's like every time I watch like some movies of his, like again his Succession, it's like this guy like gets so lucky with everything, like every scene that he shoots and stuff is just the setting and the way that it looks just fantastic. So that's
so much of it is visual, isn't it? And
oh yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people say that, like people who aren't big into Italian horror, that it's style over substance, and I can see it to an extent. It depends on the director, really, and even more so the movie. But I mean, the style. I mean,
it's a harsh criticism, really.
Yeah, the style is definitely something, though, that you notice in Italian horror. I mean,
because it's style and creativity, isn't it? It's the creativity within that style. It's like no one's just going to watch. Well, maybe they would, but it'd be more of an art piece. We're just looking at beautiful things. But like you were saying before about the creativity of the action within that, whether we're talking about Suspiria and the way the rooms look and the lighting and the razor blades and whatever it is, razor wire, there are things like that. You're looking at these things and you're going, that looks beautiful, but it has a purpose in the story, and I've not seen it before. So it's very easy to dismiss something and say, oh, it just looks great. Yeah, but try replicating that. You can't. Or there are certain people who, you watch, say, a film like Drive or, films like that where they're trying to replicate elements of that. And they succeed if they have creativity of their own. Otherwise, you're just ripping it off.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the style obviously plays a big role with Argento's movies.
Yeah,
and then the other thing is music. Like
yes,
all three of his first three movies in the Animal trilogy with Ennio Morricone scoring them. Amazing music there, and then just his long running collaboration with Goblin and Claudio Simonetti of Goblin.
How strange would it be if he hadn't have fallen out with Ennio Morricone? Then we wouldn't have got those Goblin scores in the films.
I know, right? That's
crazy.
That is something to think of, especially because like Suspiria and Deep Red, and especially it's like top tier different scores of all time for me. So like it's like, man, imagine if those weren't there. I mean, I have no doubt Morricone could have made something great for them, but wouldn't be the same. Like anywhere near the same.
The same film. No.
So all right, so that was number 9 for you, Inferno, right?
My number 8 is Cat o' Nine Tails.
All right, that's my number 7, so we can talk here, Cat o' Nine Tails. So your number 8, my number 7, Cat o' Nine Tails from '71, his second movie, and this is in his words, he thinks this is his worst film, which always blows my mind because I love this movie. Like pretty much, like this whole list, I love every film on this list. But like, I love Cat o' Nine Tails, and just speaking of Ennio Morricone, like his score for this movie is one of my favorite scores in an Argento movie. Like it's such a great score. I love the characters, the blind character, what's in Cookie, and the girl that he's with. What is his niece? Or something like that.
Carl Malden.
Great characters, and the whole story is. I mean, I could see because like it's kind of out there. What they break into like a biotech lab, the murderer, and kill somebody, and then they have to figure this murder out. Like, and then like they try to involve like some like that biotech science, like genetic shit, like into the story a bit. I could see that throwing people off a little bit and like being kind of like, I don't know, off like out of left field. But I absolutely love that movie, Cat o' Nine Tails. What do you feel?
Yeah, me too. I like the last act. Yeah, I enjoy the last act probably more than the first parts of the film. I like Carl Malden's character. I like the fact that it throws you off because you're kind of expecting something creepy about him or something bad about him, and he's pretty much just a good character, like a good person, and obviously that's why the end of it is so shocking and exciting. He stands out for me. The music stands out for me, and again, it's nice that this is one written with Luigi Cozzi, you know, who I have a lot of time for as a filmmaker, just for fun, you know, contamination, and behind me my poster of Star Crash, but like. He's just a nice guy. Like, met him, he's a lovely guy, and they still work together and runs the shop for him. Is it Profondo Rosso shop in Italy? And like they do that. I just like the fact that this is a kind of collaboration with his crew, basically his crew of friends. Carl Malden, it's that following that pattern, isn't it, of the Giallo films where you'd have one name American in there, whether it's Michael Brandon or someone like that, and he's an interesting character. I think the blind element is good too. It kind of adds something a little bit different to it. But I'm surprised. I didn't know that it was his least favorite of his own work.
I mean, I don't know if he's counting. I don't know when that quote was from. I think it was like early 2000s, mid 2000s. So I don't know. It probably doesn't include anything after that. But I mean, he hasn't made many films after 2000s. Like maybe just 4 or 5.
It's funny that I just read after saying all that he demanded that he had sole screenplay credit, because like I think we know that he is a prickly character, or historically quite a prickly character, and not always the easiest to work with, because you can kind of go through and go, oh, and that's when he fell out with this person.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's quite interesting. Number 7 is Deep Red. It is Mother of Tears.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's not on your list, is it?
That was an honorable mention. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, out of the ones I've watched all the modern ones relatively recently, I thought it was the best modern one. I know we talked a bit about it before, so I won't go on and on about it. But I like the chaos and the wildness when things just go off. About 2/3 into the film. The end scene lets it down a little bit for me. Just like that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, endings like that always tend to do that. Like for me, like with like insane laughter. Like,
it's like, oh, what a crazy day.
Unless it's like a real out there movie, and this doesn't even happen in this movie. But like, it's just an example of like. And this actually is related to Argento, because Claudio Argento helped me get this made. Santa Sangre, Jodorowsky's movie. It's a very avant-garde, crazy fucking movie. Yeah, it's a masterpiece of a movie. Like the lighting in that looks fantastic.
I heard that. Yeah.
But that movie, like, it doesn't have that like maniac laughing, but that's like something that would work in a crazy movie like that. Besides that, like, yeah, it's very hard to take like an ending like that seriously. Like,
it made me feel a bit of Die Hard, just like the just needed the snow coming down, and she just lights a cigarette at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, the weather outside.
Yeah, it's kind of like that in Phenomena too, with Dario at the end when the chimp kills her. Like before that, she's laughing like a maniac too.
Yeah, true. So that was my best modern one, and I'm so glad I was able to put a modern one in there, because it kind of makes me not as set in my mindset that all of his ones from this period are good and all of his ones were bad, which is what I thought before I started on my mission to watch as many as I could in 2 days. That's how my mind was working with Argento. So I'm glad that I've got that as high up on the list as I have.
I'd agree that it's his top of his later films.
5 is Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Okay.
Which...
Yeah, that was my number 10.
That was your number 10. So it's quite high for me. And I'm going to put it down to one main reason why it's so high. Orocio, the private investigator, I love his character arc. I love the comedy in his character.
Yeah,
I love that he has failed so many times at his job that he sees that as a positive, because the next one can only be a success. Like,
yeah.
I just love that about him.
He's a well-written character.
I love it. I love it.
That's it's a tricky movie for me. I just rewatched it again like the other night, and it's probably my least favorite of his first 9 movies.
Okay.
But
it's not the most exciting film, is it?
It's still an excellent film. Like it's still excellently directed. There's some great shots in there. The whole ending shot, the car wreck with the killer at the end, with her at the end when she crashes into, and the music playing, and how slow and the slow-mo and stuff, and then she's decapitated and stuff. All of that is fantastic. Like, and I feel like there's a lot, and then you have a lot of stuff that you'll see later in his, especially, and then in his next movie in Deep Red, like same thing, a musician protagonist. That's something that
the musician side of it, Michael Brandon is a bit bland. He's not like as exciting as, say,
like
David Hemming's character.
Yeah, I don't like his character that much. That's probably another thing that brings it down for me. Is not.
Yeah, he's much better as he gets older, and he's in things like I don't know if Dempsey and Makepeace was as popular in America, because I think it was like one of these things where we bring one American over, make a British cop show, and the selling point is like American guy with British woman, and it was certainly he plays a strong silent type a bit better than a kind of relaxed musician type. And I don't quite see why all the women think he's amazing. Like he's a good looking guy, but he just seems maybe like not very worldly or interesting or exciting as a character. So that's why maybe I mentioned the private investigator first, because he has such a great arc, particularly when he realizes that he was right.
Yeah,
it's fully realized. His story goes full circle, even in the restaurant where
he might be one of my favorite parts of the movie. Actually, now that you're like talking more about it, his character might be like one of my favorite things. I mean, the score by Ennio Morricone is great again.
Yeah,
it's not as good as Cat of Nine Tails for me. Like nowhere near as good as that score. And Bird with Crystal Plumage has a good score to it too, but it's not a favorite of mine. So I think Cat of Nine Tails has the best out of the Animal trilogy, the best score. Probably Bird probably has the best story.
Yes.
And then that's what I mean. Like this one just kind of is like, it's great. It's excellent. Like
you have to think of them as a 3. That's the thing. It's like
I know.
No, this is the thing. It's the same with the Mothers trilogy. You know, you do think of them as a 3, which means that something like Mother of Tears does suffer in comparison, which is a shame. But that's kind of the whole point of it, is really, I guess, that he wants you to think of it as one massive movie. But that's not how moviegoers think, or it's not how we think. It's like no one go. I suppose they do with something like, say, Star Wars, where people who are maybe our age or a bit older, they'll just go, "Well, I just like the original 3."
yeah, exactly.
No, I don't know if Argento fans are just like, I just like the Mother's trilogy. I just like the Animal. They're more like, I like this bit of this one and this bit of that one.
That's
and I like that
it's
bit.
interesting that when you just said, I wonder if there are. I'm sure there are, but like how common, who knows? Fans of Argento who just love the Animal trilogy and don't like any of his later films, like Deep Red or Suspiria or Inferno or anything like after those. Like,
putting things into a box, you know. You can
I wonder if they exist. I'm sure, like people who are like pure Giallo fans. I mean, but Deep Red is like the best Giallo ever. So like, I don't know how they wouldn't like that movie. But like, I'm sure there are people who just like his first 3 movies. But you never hear about them because they're insane. So, yeah, that's your what, number 5?
That was my number 5. Yeah. My number 4 is opera.
I have that higher, so we'll talk about that. All right, your number 3.
The Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Okay. Right, yeah, that was my number 8.
That was your number 8. We talked about that?
Not really.
No. So what I like about the bird with the it's British, that, isn't it? The bird with the that bird.
Or you could say like the girl who knew too much, kind of similar. Like that's a Bava film.
That's true. I get. Yeah. Again, we go back to long titles and I forget the names. The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. For me, it's great because it's all of the tropes of Giallo before they became tropes, and it's so creative. I think it's such a creative film. I like the use of lots of crowds. There's lots of use of crowds and people looking similar to other people, and confusion. There's a good feeling of confusion in it that makes the audience that they're in on that confusion as well.
The mystery is excellent in that movie. Like,
that's the better way of putting it than I was going to.
The whodunit and everything is just so well done. And yeah, it's as a directorial debut, like it's just like a masterpiece for like a first film from somebody. And like with that movie is pretty much like when the Giallo subgenre like blew up.
It's setting those things in place.
Yeah, like you'd go back like to maybe like Bava with Blood and Black Lace, or The Girl Who Knew Too Much, and like that's like 63 or so. With,
I guess it's
Gallows maybe, but like
modernizing it or making
it was the one that made it like more known to people, and then it blew up and you got all the friggin' Giallos that came like in the 70s.
Yeah, so, I think it's
a very influential film.
It's one of those, isn't it? Like you say, you could go back and find all of these things, but maybe when someone puts all of them together in one package that looks so good, sounds so good, acted so well, and like you say, the story is so tight, they've managed to just put all the pieces together and then start off a complete movement from it. So he's like, it's stronger than the sum of its parts from some of those other films that came before it. And that's I guess how you get someone like that's how you get I guess how you get these named directors, isn't it? It's not that they're doing anything that no one else has done, it's that they're doing all of those things better in one package. It's like, you know, it's not like there hasn't been a monster movie before Jaws, or there hasn't been a you know, like Star Wars is essentially Western tropes but in space, and you put these things together and it works. And I think that's why The Bird with the Crystal Plumage is just like a really good entry level giallo. It probably was one of the first ones I saw anyway, and maybe a lot of other people.
Yeah, along with Deep Red for me. Yeah, Deep Red and Bird were probably in the top, in the first 5 that I saw. Yeah. I mean, I feel like those are very...
your number... Sorry, go on.
I feel like those are just like very introductory, giallos that a lot of people see first, just because how high in regard they're held.
Yes, yeah.
And just like the whole, I like just talking with Four Flies when we were talking about how the main character is just not that, compelling. But like, I love Sam in Bird with Crystal Plumage. Like, I think Sam's a good point.
Yeah, you remembered his name, so it's a good start.
Exactly, right. That's how you know that I like a character in a movie. If I know their name, they're fucking worthy. But yeah, Sam's a great character. Is girlfriend, I think it is. They're not married, are they? I don't remember. She's a good character.
Yeah, Susie Kendall.
Yes.
Oh, the actress. Yeah, she's
the actress. Yeah,
she's been in some good films, and like for me, she's up there. She's not quite for me. My kind of 70s crush actress is Susan George, Die Screaming Marianne, and films like that. But Susie Kendall was in quite a lot of these, wasn't she? A lot.
And she's great. And she's great in this. There's some infamous shots of the art gallery, like when he's trapped like inside and he witnesses the murder happening. And that whole art gallery just looks stunning. Like
that's so
in it. The art pieces, and then like the one that they bring in later that has like the spikes on it and stuff that falls down at the end that almost like kills him. Like all of that looks fantastic. But like him, and
I want to go and watch it again now.
Yeah, the way they handle the mystery and stuff is great, and I love the title. Again, the title, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Well, what a title!
That's literally what leads him to figuring out who the killer is the bird.
Yeah, it's not.
All of that is so well handled.
It's perfectly realized film, and that's why for me it was my number 3. Number 2 is Tenebrae.
All right, that's my number 3. So
how
do you feel with that?
I think it's such a great comment on his critics. It's a comment on giallo and critics of giallo in such a it's meta before people started saying meta all the time. Like it's like, oh, you don't like my films? Well, then I'll dial it up to 100 and do some crazy shit.
You think I'm against women? You think I'm against women and stuff like that? Then I'm gonna incorporate it into my movie and fuck you.
Yeah. It's such a film of an angry young man or an angry person just going, right, I'll fucking show you. Like, this is, I'm gonna throw it all at the screen. And like, I love that passion. It's such a passionate. It's crazy film, and it looks unlike a lot of his films. It's almost like an episode of Miami Vice.
I was gonna say it's like a procedural,
where it's gone off. Like Miami Vice has gone like on an LSD trip or something. Like it's it's just I love it, and it's one of the. It's not one that I've watched lots of times. It's not one that I watched over and over or returned to. In fact, it's relatively recent. I watched it, and I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, and it just blew me away. It was never going to be my favorite one because, and I'll explain when I get to the top one why I can't. Yeah. I can't think of anything else in the top one. But oh, what a film! Yeah, what are your thoughts on Tenebrae? Like,
what you said about the commentary and stuff like that, and him like being meta before being meta, and all. I agree with all that. Like, all that's excellent. The way that he just didn't care and just said, like, oh, if you're gonna keep hating and shit, and like you think I'm sexist and you think I'm misogynist and that I'm a terrible person, I'm evil, and then fucking here you go. Like, here's more of it. And like
John Saxon as well.
John Saxon is so great in this. I love the whole recurring gag with his hat, his top hat, it doesn't come off, and then like later it comes off when he gets killed. Like, his character's great. Peter Neal, the main character, is great. Everything about this movie, the soundtrack by Goblin, even though it was after they broke up, but all the members of Goblin still fantastic in this. The kills are great. Probably my favorite ending for an ending for an Argento movie is this movie with the arm cut off and the spray of blood on the white wall and shit. That's one of my favorite shots in an Argento film too.
Don't you think as well, Peter Neal? I like, and this is a crazy one, but I like to think of Peter Neal as almost like like a Sutter Kane from In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, like... that's my third favorite. That's my third favorite Carpenter film. I love In the Mouth.
Oh, cool! I love that film as well, and I like the idea of like a.
I've had that thought actually. Now that you said it, like I've definitely linked the two of them in my head before.
A good idea. Man, that's amazing. Yeah, I just thought you might just go, "What the fuck is he talking
about?"
I
definitely have had that thought. Like, while either watching one or the other, the other pops into my head because I can see it. Like,
just because that scary idea that is so popular and it's creating havoc for everyone around him in one way or another. And I'd love to have a bookshelf full of Peter Neal books. Peter Neal on one shelf behind me, and then like Sutter Kane underneath.
You take the covers of his too, and you put them all together and make a map. And it tells you where he's spending his next book tour. And what is your number one Argento?
Wow. Well, take a guess. It is Suspiria.
I will say that is his best movie. That and Deep Red, I will say, are I think his best films. Like, just like.
But we're talking favorites,
yeah. But I would say Suspiria is a movie I recommend to everyone like who wants to get into Italian horror. Yes. It's usually either that or City of the Living Dead by Fulci or Zombie by Fulci. Like, it's probably one of those three movies or another one or two. Yeah. But usually,
I would say that I'm the same. If somebody says to me a film, because I feel this is a film like Suspiria genuinely scares me in a way that I don't have a rational response to it. I have a physical response to this film, whereas the other films I watch them as films. Whereas for some reason, when I sat watching Suspiria for the first time, it put my teeth on edge, my fingers. I was scratching at my I just felt creeped out. A combination of the music, the lighting, the quiet bits in the film, the sort of the building of tension, the rooms, the razor room stayed with me for so long. It stayed in my mind. It stays in. It's never left. I think it is genuinely my scariest film I've ever seen. Not in the sense of the things that happen in it are like extreme, or they're not. It's not like Terrifier 2, not peeling people in the bedroom and stuff.
The way the emotions that it provokes.
Yes, and in a way, I don't know how. It's like magic to me. This film, I don't know how it makes me so scared, but it does. It creeps me the fuck out, which isn't a particularly film school way of putting it, but it does. It's got everything that Argento does well, I don't know if it is accessible to people or not, but it's obviously well regarded. like we say, maybe if Opera had a different title, people might be talking about it in the same way. But I do think it just, for me, Suspiria, I agree, it's his best made film, but also it's my favorite, so it had to be number one, and it probably would never switch. So that's all I've got to say about it, really. Other than I don't know why. I think it's the unknowable part of it, the ominous part of it, it touches me in a way that other films maybe don't, and I don't know why that is. And I think I put that down to the masterful creation of the film. So that's my number one. So what do you think, Suspiria?
Yeah, Suspiria is one of the few movies that could put me in a trance watching it, like an absolute trance. Like between it's top 5 scores of all time for me. It's pretty much the same level of Halloween. The way that Halloween score by Carpenter is utilized throughout the film perfectly.
Yeah, good point.
It's the same thing with this movie, with Suspiria. That it's just every time that theme kicks in and just keeps building. It's in some of the best shots ever are in this movie. Like when at the very beginning, when we get the epic double kill, when top 3 best hanging scenes, like hanging deaths, when she comes from the ceiling after getting stabbed in the heart. The first time I saw that, like, when did I first see Suspiria? Like in early teens or something like that. When I saw like the heart being stabbed, I was like, yo, it's like crazy. I've never seen that before. Like seeing a heart being stabbed, and it's a great effect. But that, like, when the ceiling comes crashing down, the stained glass, but like when the woman's screaming like help, there's a murder, and she's like banging on the door, and then there's the shot of her like with the wallpaper on both sides are like symmetrical stuff, and the patterns. That's one of my favorite shots in a movie, when at the end, and when Sarah's body's laying there and the theme's playing, and then it pans down her body with the pins in her eyes and like the razor wire. That's one of my favorite shots in the movie. So yeah, I mean, it's a perfect film.